Welcome. This week we're talking about chapter 2 of Ephesians 19 through 22. It's a beautiful little passage that Paul is just basically saying because of what Jesus did as the ultimate peacemaker to tear down the things that divide us and want to unite us, now he moves into what kind of new person this united body of Christ, follower of Jesus, person of God is. It's both an individual and a corporate identity. And so I want us to talk about identity today and this week. It's the message that we looked at this last weekend. And as we think about what Paul does, he says, consequently, because of what Jesus has done for us, the grace in verse 8, 9, and 10, in verse 8, the grace that we've received to come into relationship with God, that's not by works, so no one can boast. When no one can boast, it takes kind of our individuality out of the spotlight, which is so countercultural for us because we want to be in the spotlight. But everything he moves towards from that point on is kind of in juxtaposition to this fact that we're not the spotlight. Jesus is. What he's done for us. And then when he gets to verse 19, he says, consequently, you are no longer foreigners and strangers. That's kind of the way he described us as when we are without a relationship with Christ. That empathy that we have for people that are without Christ, we know that empathy because we've been there, done that. All of us have an identity. It's built on something. And this week we're kind of looking at the fact that what the world tells us to build our identity on will never satisfy, will never really fill us up to the place of peace and contentment. We'll always want more. It's always insatiable. But what God gives us in not only who we are as his individual children, but as his corporate family, that identity completely changes us. And so really today, as we kind of launch into this conversation, I want to ask the question, what's your identity built on? So they're all built on something. Every person's identity is built on something. So pause for a moment. What is your identity? Your identity is your belief that you have about yourself. Your identity is the story you tell yourself about yourself. It's what you look to, where you either kind of tear yourself down or build yourself up. So you either have a struggling, fragile, poor identity, or you have maybe a robust, strong identity. But what is your identity built on? Because ultimately the strength of that identity will be tested by life. Life will test your identity. Relationships will test your identity. Your performance in the world will test your identity. Your aging will test your identity. Your retirement will test your identity. Your personal health will test your identity. All those things will bring into question what your identity is built on. So this week, what's your identity built on? Is it built on what people say about you? Maybe. Is it built on what you do, your performance, and how well you perform? Maybe. Is it built on your economic status? Is it built on the things you drive, the place you live, the clothes you wear? Is it built on your profession, the job you have, the title you possess? All of those things affect the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. The question we'll look at this week is the story you're telling yourself match, or is it a mismatch from what God says about who you are? I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.